Hello, Ramiz.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Kathir. Good afternoon, boys.
Good afternoon. Hi.
Jonas did well at school today, so he's here for his treat.
I did well too.
Yes, you did, dear, but not as good as your brother. You will both get a treat.
Do you have dark Vidor chocolate?
No, I am afraid I do not.
How about green monster munchies?
No, I do not.
What do you have then?
Do not be so rude.
That is okay, Mrs. Kathir. What I have is what is shown on display, and what you do not see, I do not have. I suggest you look carefully, and if you decide on something, tell me. I hear that the local headmaster of the school is leaving at the end of the year.
Yes, he is retiring. We will miss him. He has been a very good head teacher.
Do you know where he is going to retire to?
All he said is that it is a remote location where he wishes to enjoy the company of silence.
I suppose after 30 years in children's education, he is bound to say that, although it is easier said than done.
What do you mean?
Silence is something you grow up with. You cannot suddenly befriend it.
I have no experience of it, so I cannot judge.
Why do you say that?
I grew up in a home with two sisters and a brother. My husband is in advertising. I have two sons and a daughter. My two sisters are also my neighbors, and furthermore, I belong to 3 local charities. Silence is not something that I would recognize, or at me.
I, Mrs. Kathir, rarely consider anything or anybody as my enemy. However, I consider uninvited noise as the exception to this rule. I do not tolerate its presence, knowingly seek its companionship, or under any circumstance wish to reside in any location in which it also resides.
That will put quite a restriction on the environment you are willing to interact with.
Excluding interesting conversations at low volume of sound, silence is my best friend in my leisure time.
How do you judge that a conversation is interesting?
When it adds to my knowledge on subjects I am interested in.
What would you consider the most difficult of the subjects that interest you?
I think difficult is not the word. I would use less scientific as a more appropriate phrase.
Okay. Which of the least scientific of subjects that interest you?
Human nature.
You are certainly in the right place to observe it. Have you chosen yet?
We have chosen 2 each and agreed to exchange halves with each other so that we each end up with 4 halves.
Wise move, Roland.
This was my idea, Mr. Ramiz.
You may have said it first, but I had already thought about it and that is why I immediately agreed to it.
Stop quibbling, you two. Give me the items so I can pay for them.
Their behavior is understandable. Logic laced with sibling rivalry. Human nature is always there, never allowing pure logic to prevail.
Do you think that is bad?
It is not a question of good or bad. It is just recognition of facts.